Put your arms out front, lean side to side. They gon' be on you when they see you hit that Dougie ride. Ain't nobody getting with my bro from Morningside. He go by Bubba and he hit that dance like thunder. Okay, I ain't from Dallas, but I D-town boogie. I show my moves on to everybody trying to do it.
Mr. President, what are you going to include in your inaugural address?
Well, I need to let the nation know where I came from so they trust me a little better. I was born on October 1st, 1924 in Plains, Georgia, and my dad was also a farmer, and he eventually became a businessman. My mom was a registered nurse, and I just came out of the public schools of Plains. I wasn't involved in anything special, and I'm just a normal American. I like to call myself the American outsider to the government because I was never part of big political parties, and I don't know too much about how the country's run, but I'm going to give it my best.
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
President, why else would you consider yourself a normal American?
Well, I didn't attend any Ivy League schools. I just attended the Southwestern College in Georgia, and I studied technology, science. I also received a Bachelor of Science degree from the U.S. Naval Academy in 1946.
No more for the questions now. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Mr. Jimmy Carter. Mr. President, will you give us your input on foreign and domestic affairs?
Yeah, well, I think that there should be equality for all, and I'm further working to end racial discrimination domestically and abroad in places like South Africa. And I became the governor of Georgia in 1970 for one reason, and that was to help end racial discrimination, because that was such a big spot in the United States for racial discrimination. I allowed blacks and women in the Georgian government buildings, and they were in charge of major organizations in the state.
Mr. President, what are you doing to protect us against foreign nations?
Well, recently I just gained a complete trust treaty with the People's Republic of China, so we are not worried about them because they are a world superpower along with the United States and Russia. I'm currently working with Russia on signing the Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty, which will guarantee that if there are any nuclear weapons in either of the countries, that we are well aware of them and we know where they are at all times.
Mr. President, give us a brief update on what's going on in Tehran.
Cut.
Mr. President, give us a brief update on what's going on in Tehran.
Well, as most of the American public knows now, 52 Americans were abducted and taken from the...
Mr. President, can you give me a brief update of what's going on in Tehran?
Well, as most of the American public knows right now, 52 innocent American citizens were abducted from the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, and they are currently being held hostage at the embassy, and we are working very diligently to get them free before the end of my term, which ends in a few weeks here. And if I don't get them out of there very quickly, it'll be in the hands of the next President of the United States to handle that. We are working very hard, like I said, and we've heard that most of them are still alive, if not all, and it looks pretty good because we're getting very close to setting them free.
Mr. President, who inspired you to be the president you are today?
Well, my parents were there every step of the way for me, and they really inspired me to be who I was today.
That'll be all.